cost of all construction nearby, increase speed by 30%, a massive speed boost, plus to defense, slippery, which is usually a rogue ability to keep them alive. One of my lords, actually, I don't know if I still have her. One of my lords had, what was that, barrier? Her. She's got a Zinch barrier. So that makes her survivability so much higher. She has a constantly regenerating shield in combat because her 60 influence thing gave her Zinch shields. So that was really cool. The lords are cool. The heroes, my main beef with the heroes is they're a pain to get. With many of the other races, there's like tier 2 buildings that get your heroes, and so you can pretty quickly get a couple of heroes in every army and have a few spare to run around doing like assassinations and stuff. I did not feel like I could do that with these guys. Like this right here, hold on, I need to click on a different province to properly show this. Let me go over here. Okay, if I click on Stormhenge and look what you can build in Stormhenge, notice that this building is missing. That building can only be built in capital cities of tier 3 or higher, and it's a 4-turn construction. And it does not increase the number of heroes you can have. You have to get a capital, get it to tier 3, do a 4-turn construction, then get the city to tier 4, and then do a 5-turn construction, and then you can increase hero capacity. So getting enough heroes to fill my needs for this faction felt impossible. And again, the other cities can't even build it. Like they can this is tier 4, so this can't be built in smaller cities too. So handmaidens are also a tier 4 thing. There was a building over here that you can build at tier 2 that gives you a single noble, the only noble I had in the game. And to increase capacity of nobles, again, you needed a tier 4 building. So only capital cities can give you heroes, is the short version of it. Only capital cities. Because you can't get tier 4 at small cities. It's not possible. So, whereas the Skaven, every single one, let's say, their Plague Priests can be acquired from small cities. Their Warlock Engineers can be acquired from small cities. However, to increase the cap of it, it is tier 4. Their Chieftains are small cities, and they increase cap of Chieftains at tier 2. And their Assassins are small cities. So, like, they can easily get, like, their Packmasters are small cities, and I think their Eshin Sorcerers, which are, like, one of the worst casters in the game, are the only thing that's not small cities. So it felt like almost impossible to get these. It was for that reason I started getting only life. What are they called? Archmages? Because I couldn't get enough life mages. I would have gotten some warrior lords and had a healer mage in the army, but I couldn't get more mages. So I just was getting mage lords and just using that, and it was okay. Their bread and butter units was the basically spear guys and archers, and that was fine for most of it. I felt like building was a pain. Like the main capital, Torjavres, only has 8 build slots. To put that into perspective, Skaven Blight has 12. So the number of build slots in your starting capital are crap, and you have so much stuff that you need to build there, and it's just like it's a major pain to get it off the ground. Also, it's part of a territory that only has 2 towns, and one of them starts with a dock, which is great. That's money, but there's not a lot of room to put this. You would usually put this in a small city. There's just not enough room for it. So that was a thing. Like I felt like their building just took for freaking ever. It took forever to tech up. Their units are pretty good. I will say, like, some of the units, like the Lions. The Lions are a better version of wolves, and I love the wolves. But it took so long to get to them that we were in the mid to late game before we got to those. Like where are they on this? They're a tier 3. They're a tier 3 building, and it's a prerequisite for Handmaiden, so you want it in a capital. And I didn't get it until very late game. I think I was just using the Regiment of Renowned Lions. So I wish I had access to those earlier on. Wasn't a big fan of their siege unit. I built like one and I lost it and I never rebuilt it. Talk about climates. Yeah, so anytime you click on a city, if it's got this border as either orange or red, your faction really doesn't like it there. Now, I didn't realize that early on. So, for example, early on, this area is all fine. I had trouble holding it because rats and Grom the Paunch and demons and dark elves. So we were getting hit on all sides. Now, my other allies have been holding off dark elves over here and undead pirates, so they've not been a slouching. They've had their hands full. Now, over here, ironically, the climate over here in this barren area is fine for me. However, this area, I don't love this area because of the distance between cities. Like, you capture this city, and it's like minimum 2, maximum of 3 turns to get to the next one. Whereas over here, it's often, maybe not always, but it's often 1 turn between cities if you're going between these. Even over here, it's often 1 turn, sometimes 2. But down here, it was always 2 to 3. Like, they're just so spread out, so not a huge fan of this. As I'm about to play Tomb Kings next, because the Tomb Kings, one of them starts like right here. You can see their little pyramids right here. So the climates was kind of a pain, so that made economy difficult. I did end up like just taking cities, and I was basically kind of playing like Scarbrand. I was funding via war. Like, I kept myself in the game despite having a negative economy by constantly winning battles and using that money. So that was all right. So heroes, I loved them, but they were too hard to acquire. Lords were cool, except for their hats. They were hideous. The jail thing was cool. The intrigue at the court thing was cool once I understood it. I guess the biggest thing for Eltharion was his start. Eltharion might be the only guy I've ever played that starts not near his city. No, wait, hold on. The Jade Dragon starts not near his city. So we started with Eltharion's town here, and in second Lord and Army, it was a weak one, but a second army, and Eltharion started down here on a boat. And then when I took this city, it popped up and said, what do you want to do? And I had the option of selling Tor-Yvresse, my capital, to the other elves for 25,000 gold to conquer the Brave New World, and then focusing entirely on this. Or say, I'm going to keep your Yvresse, and you gained like 100 influence to start the game with. But then you had an option. You still had your army down here. You could keep fighting down here, or disband the army, and then after like 5 turns or 3 turns, respawn it up here to reinforce the other group that's here, and then just focus entirely up here. So that means that this guy kind of has 3 ways of doing his campaign, and I really think that's clever. You can just focus up here, just focus over here, or do what I did and try to juggle both, as I was up for the challenge. And I didn't do great at it, but we held on. And so I tried to hold that area and also deal with this down here. Now, if you're going for your short-term victory, if you care about that, I clicked on the wrong window just a moment. That involves killing the Top Knots, the Teeth Snatches, the Bloody Hands, and the Exiles of Khorne, which is Khorne, and those all are over here. So if you care about doing short campaign victory, you're going to focus over here. But if you've already done that, then it's not a big deal. Yeah, if I were to do this again, I would definitely be using Intrigue at the Court much earlier to get some, pick a few alliances to, one, get the High Elves allied with me sooner, maybe get some alliances here to help deal with Grom and stuff like that, and just use that as, that is such a powerful tool, to basically be like, oh, here, let me see, Clan Angrid, oh, you guys super hate me? Okay, well, now you like me a bit, and now you like me more. And then just as long as I don't hit them for a few turns, this is going to start going back up. That is really powerful to be able to do that. And it's basically just like, this is a currency, and once you have a lot of income of this, you can make anyone love you if you spend enough of it. That's pretty wild. That is pretty wild. Let's see. Just to share, when I tried Eltharion, which is the Mother Nature that starts here, her weakness is she was very fragile. And she was honestly not even a full life mage. She had Earth Blood, but then she had like some other spells from like either high magic or light magic. So she had she did not have the instant tree spell, so she didn't have the offense capability of an Earth mage. But she did have this really cool thing where when she would be walking around the map, oh, here it is right here. If she walks through a zone, that zone gets this for like 6 turns. Like, her footsteps leave this. It leaves a buff that increases her influence gain per turn, control, growth, Winds of Magic gets stronger, so she almost never worries about mana, and it reduces corruption. So that was really cool, and it actually shows like blossoming flowers and stuff like that as she goes along, and the corruption recedes. So like in my single player, I had her walk over here, and it just cleaned all of this up, and that was really neat. But and then she also has a passive bonus where if high elves control this whole island, every turn she gains 1% control growth and income map wide, but once it gets to 10% of everything, it stops, but that is still really strong. I think that's everything. As long as you keep the other high elves alive, confederating them, it should not be too difficult. So you could eventually get like a Tyrion and Eltharion, and then you could control the other legendary lords in your armies and stuff like that. Is there anything else about the units? Most of the other units I got to try were from Regiments of Renown or the mounts, like the dragons, the giant eagles, stuff like that. The archers having like 180 range. That's more range than a lot of other factions' early range units, so you could really just throw your whole quiver at them, and then before they could get to you, and that won a lot of fights. So I mean, it really showed with how often I basically ran out of ammunition. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I talked about the cities, the buildings, the legendary lord start, the heroes, the units. I think that's about it. It seems like if you were to try to get good at high elves, you would need to be good to speed up the buildings. The building took so long, and a lot of people were telling me, oh, what you want to do is hire these guys called administrate, like hire lords that have the administrator trait, then build a bunch of buildings, then fire those lords. And I don't really like that gameplay style, but it is an option. If you were to ever play this, you could kind of build your buildings in batches and save a lot of time and money by doing that. The you're hired, you're fired thing just feels really stupid to me, so I was just avoiding that. I think that's about it. It was pretty cool. The prison thing took me a while to understand how it worked. The mist thing, I never actually saw it work a single time. It says while defending Toria of Rest, so I think it's literally when you're defending this one city. But for them to get to that city, that means they probably have destroyed your other cities. And if they've done that, your economy is really hurting. Because you can't build over here, or if you do, you're getting like half money, so you don't really want to. So I'm not really sure. Hold on, I just want to poke around. Climate's good over here, climate's good over here. So, I mean, what you could do is just, like, take this, and then try to go over and, like, just go the other way. Or go somewhere else, because, like, all of this is orange. Yeah, pretty cool faction, pretty neat. I would say during, again, I tried the other lords just for a couple of turns each, and I played Eltharion for, like, 20 turns. Teclis felt like the strongest one. Like, he felt like crazy powerful. Like, it's like if you beat your turn 5 opponent, which is Tzeentch, then you're going to be just insanely strong the rest of the game. He actually has infinite mana too. He has a sword that as long as he's in mana range or something like that, he's regenerating mana and it just goes forever or something like that. He was really, really strong. And then the assassin guy seemed pretty cool too. This is his symbol. He starts up here. So might dabble with him a little bit, but cool faction, very solid. Certainly not going to be my favorite, and I hate their hats. What's next?